Welcome to the CareClinic Pod. I'm Emma, and this is Jones.
Okay, so are you ready to dive into this one? We're tackling something I've seen a lot of discussion about lately online. Is depression neurodivergent?
It's a question that really makes us rethink how we see both neurodiversity and depression, which is why I think this deep dive is so important, especially if you're dealing with mental health challenges yourself or know someone who is.
It's so true. And I feel like a lot of people, when they hear neurodivergent, they immediately think of things like autism or ADHD. But could depression actually fit into that category too?
That's the big question, right? And to even start unpacking that, we need to make sure we're on the same page about what neurodiversity actually means.
Okay, so back to basics for a minute.
Yeah, just briefly. At its heart, neurodiversity is about recognizing that brains work differently, and variations like autism or ADHD are just part of the natural spectrum of human neurology.
So it's not about saying something's wrong. It's more like celebrating those differences, which is really cool when you think about it. And it's amazing how this whole movement really gained traction because autistic individuals themselves were so vocal about advocating for acceptance, challenging this whole idea that they needed to be fixed.
That's so important. It's about recognizing the unique strengths and perspectives that come from thinking differently. It's not about erasing differences, but celebrating them.
I love that. Okay, so then how does depression fit into this whole picture? Because we know it's more than just feeling a little down every now and then, right? It has a huge impact on your life.
It truly does. Depression can have such a profound impact on someone's life. It affects their work, their relationships, even their physical health.
Yeah, we've heard from so many listeners on Care Clinic about how depression makes even simple tasks like getting out of bed or taking a shower feel impossible.
Absolutely. And it's not just a lack of motivation, it's a real struggle. And on top of that, it can make you feel so disconnected from the people you care about most. Like there's a wall between you.
Which just makes you feel even more isolated and alone.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening who's going through that, remember, Care Clinic is here to help. Our mood tracker can be really helpful in recognizing patterns in your emotions. But back to depression's impact, it can really affect your work or school life too, right?
It absolutely can. The fatigue, the difficulty concentrating, even just regulating your emotions can make it so hard to manage those everyday demands. And this is where that connection to neurodiversity really starts to get interesting.
Okay, so let's get to the heart of it then. What are the arguments for and against classifying depression as neurodivergent?
So the main argument for it centers around how depression actually changes how your brain functions. And these changes don't just affect your mood, they impact your thought processes, your emotional responses, even how you see the world around you.
So it's not just a chemical imbalance. It's like a different way of experiencing the world because of how your brain is wired.
Exactly, that's the core idea. Pretty fascinating, right? But like any complex issue, there's another side to this. See, unlike conditions like autism, which are considered lifelong neurodevelopmental conditions, depression can be episodic.
Meaning it comes and goes.
Exactly. And these episodes can often be linked to specific events or traumas in someone's life. Another difference is how we approach treatment. With depression, the goal is often to manage the symptoms and help people find more balance in their mental well-being.
Which is where tools like the Care Clinic app can be so helpful. It's not just about tracking symptoms, but giving you resources to actually manage them and feel more in control.
Exactly. And just to highlight a really crucial point here, research shows that autism and ADHD have these strong genetic links, right? And while genetics can play a role in depression too, it seems like life events and societal pressures might actually have a stronger influence.
That's a really interesting distinction. So with all this in mind, where do experts stand on this whole debate? Is there a clear consensus on whether or not depression fits under the umbrella of neurodiversity? So it's not a simple yes or no answer. It sounds like we're really venturing into uncharted territory with this whole question.
Yeah, in a way we are. And that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating. There's so much we still don't understand about the brain and how it shapes our experiences. But that's what makes scientific discovery so exciting, right?
Totally. So while the research is ongoing, what are mental health professionals saying about this whole idea of classifying depression as neurodivergent?
Well, there are definitely different schools of thought, which I guess is to be expected with any complex issue. Some experts see a lot of potential benefits to considering depression within this framework of neurodiversity.
What kind of benefits are we talking about here?
Well, one of the biggest arguments is that it could help reduce the stigma surrounding depression. Imagine if it was seen as just another way of being, part of natural human variation, rather than some kind of personal failing. That could be incredibly empowering for people.
It makes you think about how many people avoid getting help because they're ashamed or embarrassed or just feel so alone in what they're going through. Reducing that stigma could make a huge difference.
Exactly. And beyond reducing stigma, looking at depression through this neurodiversity lens could lead to more personalized treatments. Just like with autism, where support often focuses on an individual's unique strengths and challenges, we might see more tailored approaches to managing depression based on a person's brain wiring and their experiences.
So we're talking about moving away from this one-size-fits-all approach to mental health care and towards something much more individualized and effective.
You got it. But, of course, as with any big shift in thinking, there are always counterarguments. Some experts are a bit wary of classifying depression as neurodivergent.
What are their concerns?
Their main concern is that it could end up blurring the lines between what are ultimately different conditions, and this could make it harder to ensure that people with depression get the specific support they need.
Because even though there might be some overlap, depression and, say, ADHD are still very different conditions with their own unique challenges.
Precisely. They might share some common ground. For example, both can affect things like attention or executive function, which, by the way, refers to those higher-level thinking skills we use for planning, organization, making decisions. However, the underlying reasons why and how these difficulties show up can be completely different. So these experts feel that keeping these conditions distinct is crucial for making sure people get the most effective treatment.
So it's about making sure people are getting the right help for their specific needs, not just lumping everyone together.
That's a great way to put it. It's a very nuanced issue with valid points on both sides. It seems like we really need more research before we can draw any firm conclusions.
Definitely. And I think this is a good reminder that science is a process. We're always learning, always refining our understanding. But no matter what conclusions we eventually come to, one thing's for sure. Both neurodivergent individuals and people experiencing depression deserve compassion and support.
I couldn't agree more. Everyone deserves to feel seen, heard, and supported, no matter how their brain works or what challenges they're facing.
And that's something we're really passionate about at CareClinic. Our app is designed to be a companion in your mental health journey, giving you the tools and resources you need to take control and really prioritize your well-being.
It's about empowerment through knowledge and self-awareness.
Exactly. So to anyone listening out there who's resonating with those feelings of isolation or the struggles with daily tasks that we talked about earlier, remember to check out what CareClinic has to offer. We've got everything from mood tracking to personalized journaling prompts, all designed to support you. We're here for you every step of the way.
And as we continue this deep dive, let's shift gears a bit and think about the future. What are some of the potential benefits of really unraveling this whole connection between depression and neurodiversity? What could future discoveries mean for people in their everyday lives?
Now that's an exciting thought. If we can pinpoint exactly how brain differences contribute to mental health, it could completely revolutionize how we approach diagnosis and treatment.
Exactly. Imagine a future where we can identify someone's risk for depression early on, just like we can screen for certain genetic predispositions today. This could open up incredible opportunities for preventive measures or early interventions that could dramatically improve long-term outcomes.
So we're talking early diagnosis, more personalized treatment plans, maybe even prevention strategies. Like we could potentially address it before it even takes hold.
Precisely. And it's not just about treatment either. Think about the potential for developing entirely new therapies or preventive strategies based on a deeper understanding of how the brain plays a role in depression. We could be on the verge of a paradigm shift in how we think about and approach mental health care.
That's incredibly hopeful. It feels like there's so much potential on the horizon. But I have to wonder, as much as we're learning, is it possible that we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves? What if this link between depression and neurodiversity turns out to be even more complex than we currently understand?
That's certainly a possibility. I mean, the brain is incredibly complex, the most complex organ in the human body, and we're really just starting to scratch the surface of how it all works. It's totally possible that what we're seeing now, these initial hints of the connection, could lead us down a different path than we expect.
So how do we navigate that? How do we make sure we're balancing excitement for these new discoveries with, a healthy dose of scientific caution?
That's where rigorous scientific research is absolutely essential. We can't jump to conclusions or make generalizations based on just a few early findings.
So basically not putting all our eggs in one basket.
Exactly. We have to be open to the possibility that the relationship between depression and neurodiversity could be multifaceted. It could be influenced by a whole range of factors: genetics, life experiences, and countless other things we haven't even considered yet.
So as with most things in science, more research is definitely needed before we have all the answers. But for our listeners who are intrigued by this connection and want to delve a little deeper on their own, where can they go to learn more?
That's a great question. Well, for starters, I always recommend checking out the resources we have available through CareClinic. We're constantly updating the app with the latest research and insights in mental health, so it's a really valuable tool for staying informed.
And of course, if you're experiencing symptoms of depression or any mental health concerns, please reach out to a qualified healthcare professional for guidance and support.
Absolutely. There's no shame in asking for help. It's a sign of strength, a commitment to taking care of yourself.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question to ponder. Think about this. If we as a society truly embrace this idea of neurodiversity, not just with autism or ADHD, but across the entire spectrum of human experience, how might that change how we support one another, how we create more inclusive environments, and ultimately, how we foster greater well-being for everyone?
Wow, that's a powerful question. It really makes you think.
It does, doesn't it?
Because when it comes down to it, whether we label depression as neurodivergent or not, the ultimate goal is the same: to create a world where every single person feels understood, supported, and empowered to live a fulfilling life.
It's all about creating a sense of belonging, right? Where everyone feels seen and valued for who they are, no matter how their brain works or experiences the world.
You said it. And that's something we can all strive for in our own lives, regardless of our own experiences or beliefs. Even just a little bit of empathy and understanding can make a huge difference.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I think it's safe to say we've done some serious deep diving today. We've covered a lot of complex information, explored different perspectives, and hopefully given you some new insights to think about as you navigate the world of mental health.
It's always a pleasure to dive into these fascinating topics with you.
Likewise. And to our incredible listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Remember, whether you're navigating mental health challenges yourself or simply want to learn more, CareClinic is here to support you every step of the way.
We're dedicated to providing you with the latest research, helpful resources, and practical tools to empower you on your own personal wellness journey.
So until next time, take care, everyone, and keep those curious minds engaged. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.